geez, so this is a big night for you.
Oh, well, I don't know if it's a big night, but...
So, where do you live? You live in Ellsworth?
I live in Ellsworth, and I teach in Surrey. I teach middle school at the elementary school.
All right. And you're here in Machias tonight for what?
I'm speaking about my weight loss, that I lost some weight, and a lot of people like to hear about it, I guess. So I kind of give talks every so often. People had asked.
Yeah. Do you do this? How often do you do this?
About once a month, give or take. You know, yeah, it hasn't been as often. I was on Oprah and kind of blossomed from there.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, and so I got several calls. So I've spoken at Calais and Danforth and Mechanic Falls and places like that. And I knew a couple people down here, and they were interested, and they called and said, sure, I'd love to do it. So I celebrated what I call my 4th anniversary on October 1st. On October 1st of 2001, I weighed approximately 763 pounds. And on that date, I started my first diet. And October 1st of this year, 2005, I weighed about 260 pounds. So about 500 pounds
Are you still
later.
losing?
No, the doctors told me to stop losing.
They did?
Because, yeah, they didn't want me to lose any more because I had lost enough, so they were satisfied with that. It was more difficult to stop losing weight than it was to lose the weight.
Right.
You know, because I'd cut so many calories out of my diet. But it's a fun challenge to add calories at that point because I work out enough that I need to make sure I take in enough calories. So I was always the biggest kid in the class.
Yeah.
I'm 6'6", so I was always a big guy, and I was always a little on the heavy side. And you know what happens is the older you get and the bigger you get, the less you can do, the less physically active you are, the less calories you burn. I'm from a big family. When big families get together, you eat food, and you eat a lot.
And eat meat.
Yeah. And I still love food, and I still eat meat. I just know how to do it smarter. I just need to know how to be more careful. I mean, if I want to eat too much, I can still do it,
What
but
about the rest of your family? Are they?
none to the extent that I was at. I mean, there are some. I have a brother who probably could lose 50 pounds, but nothing like 100, 200, 300, or 500 pounds as the case was. Nobody like that. I was happy with my life. I was always the biggest guy in the class. I was Big Pete. You know, I went to all the hockey games at the University of Maine. I was a sport nut. I went to all the sporting events, and I just enjoyed life. And I didn't let it stop me. You know, I had people after when I was at my biggest who said, "Why don't you get handicap plates?" And I said, "Because I don't need them. I can move around enough, and if I had too much pride." 60 pounds.
And 60 pounds, you were still able to.
I was still able to get. I taught every day. I didn't miss school because of my weight or health.
Right.
But at one point, I got cellulitis in my leg, and it's an infection underneath the skin. I ended up in the hospital for a week, and they get it cured, so to speak, but it never totally goes away. Once you've had it, it's sort of there. And I ended up with it 4 different times over a period of about 10 years. And the last time I got it, the emergency room physician said, before I admit you, I want you to look at this gastric bypass surgery. And you know, he explained it, and I listened, and I said, you know, and he says, I want you to see the surgeon when you get out of the hospital. But in order for you to do this, you need to jump through these hoops. I had to see a psychologist, and then I had to see the dietitian before I could go see the surgeon. So I saw the psychologist when I was in the hospital, and he goes, you know, so what's bothering you? Why did you gain all this weight? What's your emotional problem? I said, I don't have a problem. I like food. The difference between me and a smoker is you can see what I'm doing to my body. In a smoker, you can't. He goes, well, you know, you got a good point. You know, I'm a smoker. And he goes, you're fine, you know. And that was the end of the interview or session or whatever you want to call it. Got out of the hospital, scheduled the appointment with the dietitian, and 2-hour appointment, and I was dreading it. I mean, you're 760 pounds. Who's thinking about being happy about going to a dietitian for 2 hours? I went. In the meantime, I had spoken to my family about the gastric bypass. I researched it on the internet. I have 2 brothers, a brother and a sister that are in the medical field. They're both doctors, and I have a sister who's a research pharmacist. So I had some people I could talk to, and I researched it. And I went in with pretty much understanding I probably wasn't going to have it done. It was just so invasive, and you know, the percentages just weren't what I was looking for. I didn't like, you know, I was happy with the quality of my life. I mean, granted, I couldn't do some things, but I was still happy. I was a happy person. So but I went in, I listened about an hour into it. You know, she says, before we'd really consider the surgery, we'd really like you to lose 100 pounds. And I go, well, if I can lose 100 pounds, why would I want to go on a diet? Why would I want to have the surgery at that point? I go, if I can't diet now, what's going to make me diet when I have the surgery? Well, you're going to get really sick. So I'm thinking, I have to lose 100 pounds first, then you're going to make me really sick if I eat something I want. Where's my quality of life improving? And my brothers and sisters were worrying about it. I have a darling wife that has been supportive no matter what I did, and I started thinking about them. And what I was putting them through, they were worried about it. I had my youngest sister told me, I didn't dare get too close to you, Pete, because I was afraid when you died it was going to hurt too bad. I learned this after I'd lost the weight, but boy, you hear that and it kind of hurts, that you were putting them through that kind of pressure. So I tried dieting. At the hour into the meeting, I said, this isn't for me, I'm not interested.
This was in 2001.
2001, yep. And she goes, well, let's try and set up a diet for you. We'll count some calories, a 20 calorie diet. And she set up and said, okay, I'll try it. I'll try anything once. And I tried it. And for the first month, I followed it religiously. I didn't fall off the wagon or anything. And she and I went back and I lost my first 15 pounds. I was pretty happy with it. It was the only time I called anybody and told them that I'd lost weight. I called my mom and I was pretty excited about it. After that, I didn't tell anybody. Each month I weighed in. I'd lose a little more weight. I'd weigh in, but the only person that knew would be my dietitian, my doctor, and my wife.
Why didn't you want to tell anyone?
Well, I put the pressure on myself.
Do you think by telling someone you might just take off some of the steam and momentum that you had?
No, I had made the decision. They don't need a monthly update, because if I have a bad month, the only person that's got to worry about it's me. They're not the one on the diet. They're not trying to lose weight. I was. And I didn't need any extra pressures if I was going to do this. Come to find out, I didn't need to worry about it. I don't like to brag. It's not becoming, but the one thing I will brag about is basically the 3 years I was on the diet, I lost weight every single month. I weighed in once a month. I lost weight every single month.
What kind of weight were you losing?
Anywhere between probably 10 and 15 pounds. I had a couple 30-pound months where I lost 30 pounds. Every month except for 3 months, I lost double digits.
And what do you attribute that all to diet?
No, I attribute just as much to it, if not more, to exercise. About 6 months into it, I started exercising. I purchased what I call an arm bike. It was really a pedal bike that you can put on the floor and use on your legs. I use my arms. Set it on my chest, and I started with 15 minutes. And as the time progressed, I was doing it every day. I worked up. I added 5 minutes every so often. I got to 75 minutes. I could watch TV and still do this. So for 75 minutes, I did the arm bike. In the meantime, I started walking. There's a track in Ellsworth. I walk one lap. It's a quarter mile. My goal was to really basically walk one lap and without stopping. And I did that. And I hit 2 laps. And I did that about 3 or 4 times a week, and then I started doing it every single day. I decided if I can do this, I'm going to do it every day. And I went from counting laps to counting miles. I do 4 miles a day now, 7 days a week. And I do my arm bike 4 days a week.
4 miles a day?
Yes.
7 days a week?
Yeah.
It sounds like you're enjoying it.
Yeah.
It's more for your head,
yep.
maybe a little more than
yep.
it is.
And I still like to eat, so the more I exercise, I get to eat. You burn calories exercising, so I do that. I do my arm bike 75 minutes a day, 4 days a week. And the other 3 days a week, I do light weights to Y.
Do you work out alone?
Yes. Yep.
You've learned to work out alone, or is it?
Yep. It's just the way I've always done it.
Get bored.
No, I put my headset on. I put a CD on, and I walk. I clear my head of the day. I get rid of any stress that I had built up from the day, and it clears my mind. Really clears my mind, and that's the deal. And to me, not only am I physically healthy, I'm a mentally healthier person as well.
I was going to ask you your emotional state when you compare where you were emotionally. Now you did say you were a happy guy anyway.
Yep.
But I don't think that holds true for a lot of people that have been in your.
But a lot of people who diet are miserable. They think, I can't do this. Oh, I'm on a diet. I hate all the food. I never got negative about it. If you were asking anybody, including my wife, she never once heard me complain that I was on a diet.
So what are you going to say to these people tonight?
What I'm telling you, got to find what works for you. If the gastric bypass works for you, then you ought to look at it. if working out or doing something with someone else or going to Tops or Weight Watchers or Jenny Craig or whatever, if it works for you, use that. But just as important as counting calories and dieting is exercising. And one of the reasons I never plateaued is because as I lost more weight, I increased my exercise.
When you mean plateaued, what do you mean?
Well, a lot of people when they go on a diet at some point, they sort of stay at the same level. They don't lose weight anymore. Their body becomes used, the metabolism becomes used to the calories they're taking in. And so basically they sort of level off and they go several weeks without losing weight. I didn't really have that. And I really believe a big reason for that is I increased I exercise, and I was decreasing my calories also. I'd come across, and I'd realize I really don't need that, and I wouldn't have that anymore. So I'd count. So by the time I was at the end of my diet, I was taking in approximately 1,500 calories a day, and I was probably burning about 3,000. So that's why I continued to lose weight at a fairly steady, rapid pace.
Now, who was helping you with that?
Just my dietitian,
Yeah.
and she was there.
To have a dietitian?
For me, it was because I bonded with her. I mean, I consider her a great friend now. I call her my goddess because of everything she did for me. I always consider she's the first person in the medical field that truly listened to what I wanted and what I felt I needed.
How often would you be in contact with her?
Physically, once a month. She was in Bangor, I'm in Ellsworth, which is about 40 minutes away.
But would you talk? Could you call?
Email.
Email.
Yep, I got her email, and anytime I had a question, I'd email her, and it was great. And one thing she always told me, one of the great things about me is I always had questions when I went in. I didn't go in for a complaint. I went in to try and figure out what I could do, or why isn't this working, or how many beans should I have, and things like that. So I'm the type of person who wants to know what he's doing and what's going on. I'm excited. I can do so many things. I can take my wife to the movies. We can travel. I couldn't get on an airplane before because I couldn't buy 2 tickets. Because that's what they would require for me to go on an airline is to buy 2 seats, and I couldn't afford that. I can just do so much more now.
Amazing. Now, look, one more thing. I want to talk to you about nutrition and the culture that we live in today. Mm-hmm. I've traveled around the world extensively, and when I come home, I'm always astonished at how much food and how big the people are in this society.
Right.
How do you address that?
How do we address it as a teacher? We try and address it in the school in terms of helping the kids understand better the importance of health, nutrition, and physical exercise, and that's something we've really started doing the last 2 years. We've been taking our students, the whole middle school, on hikes in Acadia National Park, 8 miles once a month. We just got a grant for snowshoes, so we got snowshoes for the whole middle school so we can do it during the winter. We're doing healthy eating and things like that. So we're doing a lot of things like that, trying to just inform the kids how to better do things and better handle things.
We've got to order.
Oh, you got to order.
Yep.
Listen, what are you going to have? Just
I don't.
curiosity.
We haven't looked at the menu.
I haven't looked at it, but in all
you can eat
honesty,
anything?
I can eat anything I want on the menu. And a lot of times, one thing when I was dieting, when I went out, if I was going to be paying for a meal, I'd get a nice meal, and I'd get what I want. I wouldn't look for the heart-healthy meal, so to speak, as they call it. I'd look for something I really wanted, and I'd use that as a splurge kind of thing.
And in your mind, do you visualize yourself being a certain way, looking a certain way?
No.
You don't?
No, because I looked at me for who I was, just like my wife looked for me at who I was inside, not on the outside.
Pete, I want to thank you.
Thank you.
It was very interesting.
Thank you.
All the best to you.
Thank you.
Continued success.
Appreciate it.
You got it.